Hey guys, it's Dave Salvadore with Blue Line Design. Thanks for coming back to my channel, where today I'm going to share with you how I created my latest toy and package prototype, the Creature. This little guy was really fun to work on. Enjoy watching the video. This project was inspired by the Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, which I saw as a kid. I was just having fun one day sculpting this in Nomad Sculpt for the iPad. I didn't capture a lot of footage of the sculpting process because honestly, I was just having fun, and before I knew it, I had something that I really liked that I wanted to 3D print. I brought the sculpture into G2 Box, where I did a large and small version of the Creature. I printed the large and small version using the Sunlu toughness resin. Realized the large one was way too big, so I decided to stick with the smaller one and print a small batch of them. I then moved into my least favorite part of the process, which is sanding the prints. I'm using different grit wet sandpaper to smooth out some of the layer lines in the printing process. I also use a Mr. Polisher, which is a little battery operated sander that helps to smooth out the prints as well. I wash off the prints in warm soapy water and then use a brush to dust them off to get them ready for priming. I use Fun Tack for the bases to stick them onto a piece of foam board. To prime the prototypes to paint, I use a rattle can of flat black. After that dries, I use a airbrush Vallejo black primer to give it a nice smooth coat of primer all over the prototypes. While working on the toy prototypes, I then begin to think about the package that this little guy could live in. I typically start a package design with an interesting shape and then use that for storytelling. In order to create the package prototype, I went and downloaded a template from a template maker that I use, printed it out on cardstock, and assembled it so that I could begin to draw out my ideas on the package. This is the rough and ugly part of the process where you are just coming up with ideas. So I use a light blue pencil, Sharpies, and markers, and just have fun with it. I started to think of different story elements that were in the movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon, like the divers that were hunting him and the woman swimming in the lagoon. With the package prototype figured out, I take a break from that and go back to the Creature to figure out how he's going to be painted. I did a few different paint tests to figure out which one I liked the best. I even had my family cast a vote of which one they liked as well. Now that I had a paint scheme that I liked, it was time to paint up those prototypes. This was the paint scheme that I liked the best. The first step in this painting process was to airbrush on a white onto the high points of all of the black. I'm keeping the paint job simple here because I'm doing several of them, so I airbrushed on a few different shades of green to create a fade from a light green to a teal. I wanted to make the bases look like they were underwater, so I airbrushed on a couple of shades of blue and added a little bit of a rust color so that you could see the diver's helmet. I hand painted all the details like his black eyes, his fishy lips. I used a bone color to paint on his little claws. To give him those creepy bug eyes, I first painted on a white and then did a wash of a bright yellow. Once the prototypes were painted, I gave them a seal of a matte varnish. Using an airbrush really helped them to have a clean, toy-like quality to them. In order to attach the Creature to the base, I got some clear acrylic rods, which I cut pieces of, then used a heat gun to bend them around a glass bottle to give them a curve. I cooled those with a damp rag, and then I was able to hot glue them to the base. The idea was to make it look like the Creature was swimming in the package. I used a sponge with some gold paint stippled onto the divers' helmets to really make them pop. With this batch of creatures now painted up, I was really motivated to finish the package. I took apart the original prototype, scanned it in, and used it as a guide for me to create the final art for the package. I decided to color the artwork on the outside of the package like a black and white movie. Then I had a really neat idea. I thought, what if I made the artwork on the outside of the box 3D? This was because the first time I saw the movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon, it was on TV in 3D. CircWorks Art Lab produced a great video on how to turn your comic art into 3D. With the 3D effect applied to my artwork, I was now ready to send the packages to the print shop. The only thing left to do was to hand assemble each of the packages. I carefully cut out the packages with an X-Acto blade. I used a bone folder to score the lines where the folds would be made in the package. Then I cut out the window, the little diver girl, and the seaweed. I used acetate for the window and two-sided tape to attach it to the inside of the package. I sandwiched the Lagoon girl between two pieces of acetate to look like she was swimming. I used a piece of foam board to create the insert, which the creature was zip tied to, and then I glued in the little pieces of seaweed. For the final step, I used a white marker pen to add little water details to the window. So I hope you guys like watching that video. Until next time, keep drawing, keep designing.